Okay, if we can all take our seats, please. We're going to call to order. Mr. Harris, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Barber?
Here.
Ms. Byrd?
Here.
Ms. Cook?
Present.
Mr. Dastra? Ms. Elias?
Here.
Mr. Feldman?
Here.
Mr. McGround?
Here.
Ms. Rufo?
Here.
And Chairman Adams?
Here. Do we have a quorum?
We do.
Okay, thank you. I have a quorum, so Home Rule Study Commission is now in order, is in session. First order of business are the minutes. We have two sets of minutes. Minutes from December 27th. I sent these out. The December 27th ones went out about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Hopefully everybody got a copy of them. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as written? There's a motion, a second.
I'll second that.
Any objection? Hearing none, the minutes from December 27th are approved. Second set of minutes are from our regular January 4th meeting. I apologize, they only went out yesterday. Hopefully you had you did get them and had a chance to review them. Are there any corrections or changes to these minutes? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes for the January 24th meeting? There's a motion and a second. A second. Any objection as to minutes as written? Okay, hearing none, the minutes are approved. Thank you. First item, report from me. First, thank you all for showing up on a miserable night, but being a January in Lancaster, it could be a much more miserable night. So this isn't so bad. Thank you all. I'm trying to think, hopefully there'd be a crowd, and there is a reasonable turnout. So I appreciate that. The items for tonight this is primarily our deliberation and voting meeting. So the plan is to vote on whether to continue. So that's the item, if you're looking at the agenda, item 7 on the agenda when we get there. In a minute, I'll open up the floor to any comments. Just one comment, it is a public meeting. Well, a couple of things. First of all, it is a public meeting. This meeting is being live streamed. If you choose to speak, or just by staying here, you are agreeing tacitly to the fact that you're being live streamed and recorded. If you do decide to speak during the public comments section of the meeting, ask that you give your name and the street on which you live for the record. And once, I would say usually we're pretty informal about the public comments. I just want to say that when we go into a motion on a vote, public comments will be closed. I realize that, any deliberations at that point will be between the commissioners, and if there are statements, I apologize in advance, but it really, our bylaws pretty much say once you're in a motion that's the end. So you do have a chance for public comments, and I'm not trying to stop you. Just remember that you need to make them early in that section of the meeting. Will not stop anybody from speaking as long as they hopefully stay on topic. So with that, two more items I just want to report on. One is there were a couple of questions that were sent to PEL from the commissioners. They worked up their responses, and I had sent them out to everybody. I wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to review them. Once they've been presented to the commission, I will, unless there is an objection, I will turn them over to the city to be posted on the website. So is there any objection to posting these? All right. So I will make sure, Mr. Harris, I'll make sure you get a copy of these if you haven't already. I don't know if you have them or not, but I'll make sure you get another copy so they can be posted. The next thing is we're sort of going to we're moving in from my report to public comments. I'm actually going to take the initiative on the public comments because I received a public comment by email. So I wanted to just add that in, make it official. So I'll just read the email as a public comment. It came from Tom Hassler, who lives on North President Avenue. His comment very simply said, "I cannot attend the Wednesday night vote, but you have my support. I do not support electing city council by district or quadrant, but clearly we need the capacity to manage our financial future in a more productive way than we have today." So that is an email I received. And that's the only comment I have heard from anyone else. So now I'll open the floor to any member of the public who has any comments or questions they'd like to ask.
My name is Mimi Shapiro, and I live on Concord Street in the West End. Thank you all for serving. I think it's a really important discussion, and I agree with Tom, who sent the email, that we really need to take control since the legislature doesn't do anything to help cities at all. So I appreciate sitting here, being here, and listening to what you all decide. I'm definitely for it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Shapiro. Thank you for all the meetings you've attended over the last 8 months. Any other comments? Okay. Thank you. Just a reminder, while we, in the past, we have opened it up, allowed more public commentary during the meeting, because of the meeting, the purpose of tonight's meeting, public comment is closed. You can, of course, ask anybody any question afterwards as much as you want, but trying to avoid the up and down and with the public, with questions at this point. Next, so I'll just say one more. So are we done? Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Yes.
Tim Sulder, One United Lancaster. This is more of a request. Just in the interest of public disclosure, be interested when it does come time for a vote if each commissioner could offer some rationale for their vote, whatever it happens to be. Thank you.
Thank you. If anybody would like to speak, they will have that chance to do so. You have made a request to them. Any other? All right, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is Commissioner's questions. So our final opportunity for the commission to have any questions for or items they would like to bring up before we move to the motion, whether to each other, to PEL. Mayor Sirachi, thank you for being here. Hopefully, you would not mind, if there are any questions, responding, or the solicitor. And I do see Mr. Hopkins. If we would drag you up if necessary.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you. Or maybe not. Other questions?
I have some questions. For those that are here, I'm Darlene Bird, living in the city for 50 years. I ran to be on the commission because I really believe something needed to be done about property taxes. water increase, trash increase, and thought that the charter was a good thing to do, to look into, to see if that's something that could help us. I would like to know, how much did we spend so far on the Home Rule Commission? And can we get a copy of the budget? And if we would spend, if we would vote to pass it, how much money would we have to spend to educate the people about the choices that we're making?
Your Honor, I think this one's right down your alley.
Thank you for the question, Ms. Byrd. I did ask those same questions and had a conversation with Tina Campbell this morning. We have received a STAMP grant from the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development to support the Home Rule Study Commission. It is a matching grant, so there's 50% that is granted and 50% that is matched. I will be able to provide a detailed budget and report on what we have spent to date, but what I can tell you is that we have not spent the majority of the funds that are available, and there are funds that are at the ready should a vote move forward tonight to advance the development of the charter. And there's also an opportunity to submit an additional funding request to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development to support education and outreach efforts. But of course, we have not begun to contemplate what those outreach and education efforts are until you all decide what's next. So we'll be happy to get you that detailed information, but that just gives you a little bit of a snapshot about where we are.
I also want to say to the public that I really think as a commissioner, we could have did a better job of educating you on what we were learning as we was learning. If this vote would go forward, that's something that I vow to do. I vow to let the public know the decisions that we're trying to make about the charter. I don't think that we had enough participation from the residents. I'm not sure that I am at this point 100% sure what the best thing to do is, but I think you were saying, like, what could you learn in another week that would help you make a decision? So, we have to make a decision, Should I talk about other things?
You may discuss anything you would like.
Okay, so I really do think that looking at the charter is something that we could do. I think it's something we should do. I don't think it's just because of the earned income tax. I don't think that's going to fix our city and fix the problem. I think people are still going to be taxed, and people are still going to complain about the taxes being raised. But I do see the charter as giving us the opportunity to put in there a code of conduct, definitely budget policies, something that we would know beforehand, before at the end that we're going to face a deficit. I know that's something that the commissioners and I would have to talk about, decide how that goes in the budget. But I would definitely think about something like quarterly that we're discussing the budget, so in December, we don't have this long drawn-out meeting with the residents trying to find out, well, how many police cars did we buy? Do we really need to buy them? Or, other issues, just to keep it brief. I think, I also think that a change in government, I don't think we need to go to a strong council and a weak mayor. But I do think there needs to be some change in government. I would like to see somehow, and I'm hoping the commissioners will put their heads together and think how this happens. I would like to see somehow that the commissioners have a little bit, that the council has a little bit more power than they do now. I would like to see some of our commissions change. Right now, we can override commissions and just go straight to council, but we develop these commissions or these like a traffic commission. I'm just throwing one out there as an example. But we need to have a little bit more say in the policy on how they operate, who's sitting on those commissions, how are they represented. I see the charter giving us these opportunities that we didn't have or don't have right now. So I see that being a positive. I still am not convinced about this earned income tax. I don't know. I'm not convinced convinced that that is really going to stop raising property taxes. I don't believe that. But I do think there are other things that we can put in this charter. And I think we could come up with some policy that would help us with budgeting. And, because that plays a role in where we are. And I think that could have been done, something that would help us in the charter. I think that's all my area. Oh, one more thing. I'm listening to the commissioners. I'm asking, what is your commitment? Because we're not going to be able to do this in 7 months or 7 meetings. And I mean, it's going to take some time. We didn't spend a lot of time together trying to decide. We came here and you taught us. We did a lot of our learning on our own. We didn't work as a commission together. I know to write this charter, it's going to take that. So I ask that people have the time and the commitment. I know that's why I ran, because I knew it was going to take time, and I knew I had the time to put in it to run. So I ask for that same commitment from the other commissioners.
I will add to that. If you look at item 8, depending on the decision of the vote, the outcome of the vote, that is exactly what we will be discussing. So. Any other questions? Mr. McGrath?
Sure, yeah. First, appreciated the thorough and thoughtful responses we got both from Barry and from PEL and some of the topics that we were discussing in our last meeting. And, I mean, sort of hearing Arlene's last point makes me, reminded us that I'm curious about. Do we have, I guess, could we, and is it advisable to impose sort of a temporary limit on property tax increases, like 5-year, like no increases during a period of time? Is that within our purview, within the scope of what we could create in a charter? Should be determined.
The microphone, please.
I guess the question is more along the philosophy behind the charter. It's hard to tell what next year is going to be as far as needs from the city, let alone 5 years from now. So I think it'd be a difficult reach for the charter to accurately say you will not have to raise a specific category of tax, or you cannot raise a specific category of taxes. You may be better off putting broader limits so that policymakers can make the finer details every year. But your limits would be realistic enough that you would have accurate expenditure control, but you'd also have reasonable revenue control. I'm against prescribing for unknown diseases, okay, but I'm all in favor of going to the doctor every year. And I think that's what you could put in the charter, good health guidelines without having diagnoses that might not be accurate.
Okay, so,
Any follow-up question with regards to Mr. McGrath's? Further questions? Right, hearing none, we're moving on. Next item is deliberation and vote on recommending a home rule charter form of government. Is there a motion?
yeah, would you like to get a motion on the table to do this?
We'll start with the motion.
Okay, I'm happy to make a motion to proceed with drafting a home rule charter for the city of Lancaster.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? There is a second. Mr. Barber, thank you. Discussion. This is a point where, in addition, as was requested by the press, if people would like to make a statement, feel welcome to, do not feel obligated to make a statement. That is your own personal choice. So, deliberation, discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to say a few things. First of all, I'd really like to thank the folks from PEL and the work that you've done for us to educate us and provide backup knowledge kind of across the board on lots of crazy issues and lots of things that we were able to come up with and lots of concerns people had. And your unfailing support really helped guide us in a really robust way. And I think I speak for the commission in just expressing my appreciation for the effort that you put forward to doing that. I know it's a big commitment on your part. And I'd also like to say, I mean, you know, at this point in the decision-making process, that I would ask all the commissioners to really take a broad view of this. This decision to move forward or not is not prescriptive of exactly what is being written, but just the broad sense of giving us the opportunity to make some changes and opportunities to create a new vision for where we see some opportunities within the city. So I don't want us to get caught up in the minutia of what, you know, what policy exactly is, but we're intending to do something, as I understand, that's broad enough to give lots of opportunities. And I think, you know, the folks from PEL have really helped us understand that in a robust way. And just want to make sure that that stays front and center as we're making these final decisions.
Thank you.
I would like to say something as well.
Please, Ms. Cook.
It's so much. I don't feel like we had enough time to talk together as a commission. Our meetings once a month and PEL providing all of the information that they did was very informative, and because I like to do research, I've been looking at these things, and having heard from prior mayors and the extent to which they dealt with possible deficit, and then how we are looking at dealing with a deficit is very different. And I think it ought to be, if we're writing a charter, I think it ought to be that we consider the residents in such a way that they are also benefited, just like the city running these things, running everything in the city, and having, although we have residents are able to make comments at city council meetings and whatnot, I think there are some barriers. It makes it difficult for them to make public comments. And I would just like to see somehow that the public is able to really have some input. But also basically for the residents, for all residents to be, I think the term was all treated, what was the phrase you all used at the last meeting about everyone basically having their fairness in all of these decisions that are being made, and that they're not burdened by those decisions. That's what I'm trying to say, that they're not burdened. Again, I don't think that we had quite enough time, but I think even I've learned quite a lot. But I think also if a charter were to be written, we'd be learning more about to what extent we can have an impact on how the city is run and governed. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Any follow-up? Any other questions, comments? Anybody would like to make a statement?
I'll just say the things that I mentioned are things that I would like to see in the charter. I think if the charter just addresses the earned income tax, it's something I won't support. I mean, I think that we need to know as commissioners, there are things that should go in the charter, things that I'm looking for. I know you said we don't do policy, but we do come up with guidelines for the budget policy, code of conduct, and those are things that I would like to see put in a charter. And if just address the earned income tax, I want everyone to know now, I'm not going to just go out there and support that. I need to see this charter do things that are going to affect the residents that I said I would represent up here. So we have to put other things in the charter than that. I just want people to.
Thank you. Any follow-up?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Feldman.
I'll just give an opportunity to share my thoughts. I've said publicly that I'm interested in us with proceeding with a charter vote tonight, and my statement on that hasn't really changed. This process set up by the state is rather arcane. It takes a long time, involves a lot of public engagement, as we've done here, and we will have to continue to do. It involves a great deal of public accountability. There is a vote of the elected members of the council to form, whether we would form this commission. There is a vote whether all of us here on the dais would be seated. There's a vote tonight whether we'll draft a charter. There's a vote whether this group will pass the charter. And there's a vote whether that charter will be adopted by the citizens of Lancaster. And so I think that we have an opportunity to try and take back a little bit of control over how our city is run and operates, so we can continue to give high-quality services to our citizens and not be forced into a position where we can just cut this and cut that, which is unfortunate because the things that we cut are things that people need. If the water isn't working appropriately, if we aren't able to get the latest fire apparatus, if we're not able to secure street cleaning appropriately, that all adds up and ultimately degrades the quality of life here. So I'm interested to see what we can put together over the next 9 months.
Thank you. A follow-up, Mr. Feldman.
Mr. Chair, it just reminds me that I hope that we're able to build trust, more trust, between the community and city government.
Thank you. Additional comments? I'll make my own statement. I came into this almost 1 year ago today. I will tell you, this was announced probably about the third week of January, if I remember correctly. And while I had never met her before, that Saturday is when I first met Mayor Sirachi, and we discussed it. My thought has been from the very beginning, and not being familiar, I've been involved in the background on political issues, but not being front and center on anything, at least not like this. And I was flabbergasted to find out just how little control Lancaster City has over Lancaster City. That the decisions are not made by us, they're made by Harrisburg. And as I went out in the spring, trying to garner some support to serve on the commission, my standard had become, I really think that the voters, the citizens, the voters, the residents of Lancaster City know a little bit more about what Lancaster City needs or how Lancaster City should be run than a representative from Bradford. I've been to Bradford. It's not a bad place, but it's not Lancaster. And why are the decisions? And what has happened, what I have learned over the last about 8 months is, as much as I knew that was what was happening, I really learned how intensely controlled every aspect of the city is. You know, what they can do, what they can charge. And that bothered me. I'm a believer in the voters get to decide their future. The voters are the government, and that's all of us. And that's why I came into this. I am in favor of proceeding with writing a charter. I may not have been as vocal about that from the beginning, or as Mr. Feldman, but I made no secrets about the very beginning that running for this position, I made it clear that I realized the first half is, or the first 7 or 8 months is discussing it and then deciding. But I'm a firm believer if you've come this far, you need to see it through. when push comes to shove, we're not enacting a new charter at all. We're just drafting a proposal for the voters who live here to decide if this is the way they want to be led. And that's it. And rest assured, if we do proceed, the public will be involved in every step of the process. Every meeting is public. They may, and my email address is out there, so anybody can contact me. Don't be too surprised if the email response is at 2 o'clock in the morning. But it's the way it is. So that's been my reason. It's more than whether we need an earned income tax or whether we need to put some sort of control on property taxes. That's a huge part. And I think that may have been what started the process. I don't think that's going to be the end all of the process. I think there's, we have, one thing we have learned, I have learned, I can only speak for myself, not the 8 others. This is far more complicated than I ever once thought it would be. And I commend Mr. Barber on his appreciation of PEL. I have met with most of you far more than the rest of us as chair. And I have heard from, in the past, several municipalities that started the process on their own and then came in months and months later and said, we need help. I cannot imagine how we could have done this without the expertise. And thank you for the city for providing it. We didn't come into this knowing that it existed. And it has been an amazing resource. I will say I apologize for what I think we've gotten you into. We always say, oh, this is easy. This is a 10-hour a week, every other week or so commitment. And when hour 50 rolls by in a single week, you wonder why you're doing this. And that's for PEL. I can guarantee the late night emails and the phone calls go on and on and on. Although you did get to visit Penn State Harrisburg, so there is that. Very, very proud of where I work. Okay, so that's my reason. Just wanted to put it in. Any additional comments before we move? Okay. Hearing none, I guess we go to a vote. Somebody call the question.
Move to the previous question.
Okay, the question has been called, does not require a second. Mr. Harris, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. Mr. Barber.
I move in favor of moving forward with a home rule charter, provide the city with some flexibility and some options as they proceed into the future.
Ms. Byrne.
Yes, I'm in favor of pursuing the charter.
Ms. Cook.
I'm also in favor of writing a charter. Yeah.
Ms. Lyons.
I am not in favor of it. I do want to say and appreciate PEL immensely, and working with everyone on the commission has been wonderful, but I just don't think that I have heard enough to say for me that this is something that I would want to vote yes on.
Mr. Philman.
Aye.
Mr. McGrath.
Aye.
Ms. Ruffo.
Yes.
And Chairman Adams.
I vote yes. In the opinion of the chair, it is 8-1. The motion passes. We will, 7-1. Sorry, one absent. The vote is 7-1. The motion passes. We will be proceeding to drafting a charter. Thank you. Long time coming. Moving on. Next item then is. It's impolite to applaud for yourself, so starting that. The next item is how do we proceed from here? I have had some discussions, sort of discussing what to do depending on the outcome of the vote with PEL. The immediate aspect is planning meetings and what an agenda for the next few months of the drafting process. There was a request by PEL. The first Thursday night meetings was voted on, and my understanding was for up to this point. We can change that. It's been requested that, if possible, move it to have meetings, regularly scheduled meetings for the first and third Wednesday at 6 p.m. If that will work. It works for me.
Wednesdays do not work for me.
Wednesdays don't work for me either.
This is just a request. I don't know if anybody else has this occur, but it feels like the fourth week of the month is often somewhat vacant of stuff for whatever reason. I don't know if that occurs to anybody else, but for that reason, would love to get something in on the fourth week of the month.
I do think we need to meet at least twice a week, and twice a month. Well, twice a week maybe too, but twice a month. And I would like to discuss not tonight maybe, but when we're planning our next steps fully, how we can set up subcommittees that perhaps can create some of the conversation that some of us were seeking.
And that's
during
one of
this
the things that
process.
we'd actually were planning on.
I would like to add twice during the month is fine, 6:30 or later is better for me. I travel from Chester County daily.
I think the issue is Thursdays are just tough for me. I don't know, and at 7, I can't meet before 7 on Thursdays. And that just drags the meetings out very late. The idea was with PEL, 2 of them are coming in from Hazelton, also traveling, and they're hoping to move them earlier. Cutting the difference may work. It depends on the days of the week. I have no problem with moving things to like the 2nd and the 4th.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
To potentially make it so that we can cover other elements of this discussion, I don't know if other commissioners would be okay. Could we set it that, at least for this next meeting, we'll meet at the call of the chair? You just work with us offline. You say, okay, chair's called the time. That's when we'll have our next meeting. And then by the time we come back for the next meeting, you can say, here's the schedule, or we can say, here's the schedule. It just makes it so we don't have to deliberate over like this day, that day, whatever day. So I guess, you know what, it's a motion. I move that when we meet again, we meet at the call of the chair. Trying to make it easier.
So there's a motion that the next meeting be determined by the chair. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There is a second, Mr. McGran. Discussion on the motion.
I mean, I said Wednesdays do not work for me, so providing you're not picking a Wednesday, I have no problem with you calling that meeting.
And I would say deliberations are necessary.
Oh, absolutely.
And because we have to because we have to be in public, it's going to be a deliberation in public. And considering we should all be present,
Right.
I don't know that at the call of the chair is fair to everyone.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that we should spend some time, spend more time, and that we should all have more discussion about that.
So the suggestion I'm making is just that we have our next meeting at a time determined by the chair. I trust the chair to talk with everybody about the best time to do that. That way, when we come back, we can say, all right, we looked at our calendars, we got some dates, here's what it can be, and then we don't have to do this. But if people are not comfortable with that, I'll withdraw my motion. I just thought it might be easier, and we don't have to do this back and forth up here tonight.
Yeah,
We now have a bit of-
that's what I understood your motion to be, that, the chair would take it from here to communicate with us about our availability, find a time where we were all available, and that would be the date of the next meeting, rather than comparing calendars here.
Okay,
Sounds fair.
okay. All right. Any other discussion? So, all in favor of withholding a specific date until we can effectively put calendars together? I will get everything from all of you, hopefully in the next day or so, and with PEL and see what we can, and again, with the availability. That's fine with me. I would just call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, in the opinion of the chair, passed. So the next scheduled meeting, to keep in mind, the next scheduled meeting now is not February 1st. So while we've been meeting on the first Thursday, that is no longer a set meeting date. I just wanted to be clear on that, so we don't have people coming down here at 6:45, literally a week from tomorrow, expecting a meeting. We'll get everything. I will send out an email tonight to everybody. Please get back to me as soon as possible, and tell me what will work and what will not work. And again, we were working with PEL on finding an appropriate time.
Mr. Adams, if I may.
Yes,
Just a note for the public that you will need to coordinate that in-house with the city so that we can also prepare the legal advertisement so that meeting will
Okay.
be, so the public knows it will appear in the newspaper, just like all of our other public meetings. And as soon as the date and time is selected, it will also be posted on the website. For citizens who are looking to know when the next meeting is, obviously you can email Mr. Adams, as he's indicated, his email address, but you can also look on the website and then look in the Lancaster newspapers where the advertisement will appear.
thank you for the clarification.
And we'll be looking to meet twice a month?
The plan is, keep in mind, the plan is that we should probably be meeting twice a month. Again, that will come based on availability, the date and time, and so on. So that's the first step. The next is sort of planning for the next meeting when we do have it. I discussed with Mr. Cross and Ms. Moorhead and Mr. Reddick about the possibility of initiating the process with an introduction effectively to the drafting process. What they had suggested was what they should do would send out in the next day or two. It's great to have somebody who's done this before. So there are certain things that I guess really are boilerplate, in that they would send out to all of us in the next day or two, effectively a homework assignment. This is what the process is going to be. This is what you need to be reading for the next week or two until we get to meet in person. And then we will sit down and start working on the first step. Most likely, the first step would be form of government. Strong mayor, weak mayor, and so on. And that would be hashed out. The suggestion was also made that this is a time that we really should be forming subcommittees, breaking into subcommittees so we can start a process each step and say, okay, now this subcommittee will work on the drafting process. Keep in mind that at no point would anybody ever be locked out of the process. So all a committee could do is draw up a draft of a section of the charter. The actual final draft has to be approved by the entire commission. So if a subcommittee meets to draw up, say, the section on form of government, it then comes back to all of us together, which we can, as an old professor of mine used to say, take it out to the woodshed, and put it in, do whatever we want, change it however we want as a commission. They're just creating that. So that would be the first step.
So would PEL be meeting with each subcommittee and helping them in drafting the language?
That was my understanding, yes. Either virtually or as much in person. Remember, they are driving, 2/3 of them are driving in from Hazleton, so. Oh, well, that's completely different then. Oh, I didn't. I've been to Scranton, I've been to Hazleton, I like Lancaster.
Virtual might work also for the subcommittees, because you certainly don't have to be all together in the same room, and that opens up different times of the day for all of us to work together.
And my understanding, subcommittee meetings will still have to be announced publicly.
Exactly.
Well, once a committee is formed, the committee becomes the count. So, yes, Mr. Hanward.
If it's a committee of the commission, the committee is subject to the same rules of the Sunshine Act as the commission in entirety. So all of the rules regarding advertising of the committee meetings and the availability of the public for those will be the same. That being said, your consultants can appear by Zoom and certainly provide, assist that way, but there will be meetings. When there's a vacancy or you can't attend, a committee member will be able to attend by telephonic means, electronic means, provided they can be heard by everybody in the public and that everybody at the meeting can hear them. That's the basic provisions of the Sunshine Act.
I have Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ms. Ruffa, you're still,
Yeah, even though we had, we didn't call them subcommittees, but we had one or two commissioners meeting with, interviewing people offline.
Correct. They weren't deemed to be committees. They were chosen by you. So you substantively formed it differently at that point. But if you're forming committees to do work, the committees are committees of the commission. They report back to the commission. They're subject to the Sunshine Act, just as the commission is.
Mr. Feldman.
For our ability to operate efficiently, can these subcommittees as formed be advertised but meet wholly virtually? Do they actually have to occur in person?
The Sunshine Act does not allow for virtual meetings. That was repealed by the repeal of a law that went into place during COVID. When the declaration of emergency was removed, the law that allowed virtual meetings was also removed. Again, as you've been talking here, the state limits what you can and can't do. I'm not the one that writes the laws. Unfortunately, sometimes I have to be the messenger of the law, messenger that delivers the bad news that you don't want to hear.
Just a quick question. I don't know who these two people are sitting in front of me. Is there a way we can get an introduction of who they are? We never met them.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm amiss. Please.
Okay.
I'm Vinny Canzaro, I'm the executive director of Pennsylvania. I started a month and a half ago.
Oh, okay.
They've been taking the reins for the last.
So he's gonna be saying, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
for as long as possible.
Okay.
And Lynn, if you could introduce. There was supposed to be a sixth person tonight. Didn't Ann or somebody didn't make it?
No.
Oh, I thought there was one more. Okay. I misunderstood. Okay. We got the whole company's here today. You want to tell? Oh, no. There's 350 people back at the shop keeping things. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that they hadn't been introduced.
And,
Oh, yes.
Go ahead, John.
Oh, okay. Mr. McGrath.
No, you have something else?
No, I don't care.
Just to make sure we leave no stone unturned, is there no alternate solution calling ourselves something different or anything like that?
Unfortunately, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
And I was just going to say back to my original question of the commitment level, now that we know we have to meet in public, we cannot meet on Zoom, and we're looking to meet twice a month, it's going to put in some time and just making sure everybody is committed and has the time to put in to do this.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for, you may just get it.
Brian?
Yes.
Just to give ourselves some flexibility, and I know this is possible for some, not for others, but especially if we are organizing into some smaller subcommittees, might be open to those of us who can meet during the day, during the week, so that we don't have to do all these in the evenings, especially if the option exists for our consultants to participate virtually as long as we're in person. I would encourage you to consider that.
Okay, yes.
And just to follow up, Mr. McGrath, my general rule of thumb is that you need at least to have one member present in the physical room where the meeting is advertised. There is a provision under the third-class city code which allows for members to appear telephonically, which is followed through in the Sunshine Act if they're absent, but you can't have an entire meeting that's Zoom because there has to be a public location and a physical location. So we can work around and with groups, but we do have to advertise a space. The public has to be able to show up and physically watch it and or hear it.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Feldman?
this will be my last question on this, and it is to our solicitor. If Bernie were to show up here, but the rest of us were on Zoom.
So this is the wonderful world of the law, right? I'm going to tell you that I'm going to act to protect you from yourselves.
Okay. So I appreciate that, sir.
Right. Well, so the Sunshine Act, a violation of it, the penalty is a misdemeanor charge to the commission members. It is not a misdemeanor for me. It's not a misdemeanor for PEL. It is a misdemeanor for any one of you to violate the Sunshine Act. So as those in the city know, I have two backgrounds that are really conservative. So I was a CPA at one point, and I'm a lawyer. The two most conservative things on the planet, and I'm going to tell you that I'm going to be conservative in my advice to you. And while I am aware of no cases on point either way of where you've gone with that question, I would be recommending against it for purposes of making sure that you do not put yourself in a position where somebody might argue that you violated the Sunshine Act.
Thank you for your care, sir.
Chairman Adams, can I suggest that in its broadest way, we start to map out kind of backwards on the calendar where we're going, what we're intending to accomplish, and how we're intending to do that. We've talked a lot about making sure that we're very inclusive of the public, and I think a huge piece, as we know, for the future of inclusion is making sure that there's plenty of time of education available. And, if we're intending to have this on a ballot in November, I would recommend that we try to have the bulk of this charter written
We actually would need it
significantly
13
earlier.
weeks before for the
Yeah.
referendum to the county.
Okay.
So there would be a deadline in probably August.
Okay.
The interesting response to that is, there's a part that just says, great minds think alike. Mr. Cross and I discussed that exact same idea for the first meeting, saying, now here is the backwards calendar. This is the date that everything must be done by. This is what you have to have this done by this date, this by, and work your way back up until all the way back to February. So that.
Perfect.
Wonderful. I'm
Yeah, and I think
glad
that's
you
great.
brought it up because I had completely forgotten.
Yeah, no, and part of that is, I think, just making sure the public is aware of that too, that we're not going to have a charter and, put it out on November 7th and then ask you to vote on it the next day. So, yeah, I think it's, just so the public is aware at this point that we have intentions of having documented in hand sometime in August, end of August,
Yeah. Now, my
whatever
understanding
that date
is
is.
the final version would not happen. A version written so that a referendum could be put on the ballot would need to be done by a certain date, 13 weeks before the election. There's still, during public comment, the opportunity to tweak it. But it would not be prudent to try to make any wholesale changes. to it after that point.
So it sounds like what you're saying is, like, from now until the end of July, we're drafting it, and then you're suggesting that August through November is the public comment period?
Is the forums, yes, the public, the presentation. My understanding, if I recall, the Home Rule Charter Law requires us to hold at least one such meeting, or is that just one public meeting?
I would guess we're going to go over the requirement.
Oh,
If
absolutely.
it's only one?
I seem to recall something very early on that we must require one meeting,
public
hearing.
public comment,
Yes,
Correct.
one public hearing.
a public hearing on the actual
Yeah,
charter.
it's a stenographer.
I would be very surprised if we didn't do much more than that.
And you also want to have adequate time to do an educational campaign to educate the people on the question that'll be on the ballot in November.
Okay. I will refer again to PEL. With what we discussed yesterday about if this were to happen, what should next steps be? Have we covered? I'm trying to remember what we all talked about yesterday morning.
I think generally we've covered that. We're working backwards on a date, time period, and then the information that we plan to provide to the commission as a starting point that'll consider elements to be included in a charter, and also, some initial outlines of the charter drafting process.
Okay. Great. So at this point, it seems like the plan is I will collect information from everybody. Like I said, I wrote a note. I will send out an email tonight. So please check your emails. I realize I'm one of the worst offenders on checking email. So, and get me back availabilities as soon as possible so we can set up the first meeting, preferably within the next 10 days to 2 weeks. And again, just a reminder, so people don't show up. We do not have a meeting a week from Thursday. Mayor Srirachi.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. I did want to also just alert the Home Rule Study Commission members that PFM has been doing a lot of financial analysis for us. You have seen some of the reports that they have written. A key part of, I believe, some of the conversation that's been had thus far and moving forward is about the financial sustainability of the city and scenario planning, and to understand the different levers that may be available through a home rule study, through a home rule charter. I understand that you all understand that right now we have one lever, which is why property taxes have increased 8 times in the last 14 years. We are having, I believe, a conversation about earned income tax as well, to relieve some of the burden related to paying for especially police and fire public safety services. However, I think it will be important for the commission members to have access to a financial consultant who can respond to questions that you all have about what these different taxing opportunities may mean for different income levels in the city, as well as for how we would pay for city services over time. And again, I'm just going to call your attention to public safety. So we have had a conversation with PFM. They are aware of the Home Rule Commission process. They have worked with Pell. I will turn it to Jerry and others as part of the Pell team to talk about their working relationship with PFM. This is not something new to Pell and is not new to us. And so we think that it's advisable to engage with PFM in this process. What we would propose is to bring you a potential scope of work for what they would do, and that you would review that scope of work and provide comment to them. That will be really important for all of us to understand what are the things that are fixed costs in our budget, what are the things that are changing over time, like medical expenses, personnel expenses, et cetera, and what our income streams are, and to be able to project them over time. This is all work that PFM has already done, but they would be updating it and looking at different options at the commissioner's direction. So I just want to make sure that you all understand that.
Great. Thank you. I would say we're set for, tentatively for where we're going next. Is there any other discussion on our next steps? Either Mr. Feldman.
Just to recap, what we expect at the next meeting, which you'll confer with us to set a date on, is that PEL will kind of describe the process that we'll go through to build out the various sections of a charter, and also, having heard that from them, some kind of setup will be made determining who does what in that process. That kind of summarize it?
That was the plan that we were working on.
Thank you.
Mr. McGrath.
Do you have a draft or proposed list of committees, subcommittees at this time?
I do not.
Okay. When that's available, might be helpful to circulate that via email in advance.
Okay.
So that we can sort of, toss that around, think about anything that we think is either, overkill or that might be worth adding, so that we can expedite the discussion at our next meeting.
Okay. I will do, Mr. Cross. Would that be something, a tentative or just a proposed idea of what subcommittees might be worth forming for which parts of the charter and so on? You could get that, something like that tonight.
Yeah, as we discussed, and also the philosophy behind the committees, what level of detail they're going to be working through, and how much will be at the committee of the whole. Yeah.
Can I, many of us have commented on the desire for increased public engagement and public education. And in a previous meeting, I had submitted several examples from professors at FNM about different types of public engagement or participation you can have. I also, on my own, have talked to Millsy, and so I just want to reinforce to everyone, if we want a higher level of engagement or some kind of input, it's going to take quite a bit of planning to determine what that is and what that's going to look like. And I think Mayor Sirachi, I believe that Millsy would be willing to work with us to perhaps find where you all are already doing things that we could piggyback on. I'm also thinking about, I think all of us should plan to attend fairs and festivals in the city over the summer. We might have to set up a table, we can talk to people. Those are the kinds of things I'm thinking about.
Thank you. Any other discussion on next steps?
Can I follow up on that?
Absolutely.
So to that point, I'm sorry, you may have told us this before. Are we at a point where, like FNM, would they be in a position to present us with a proposal for consideration, or would that be premature at this point?
We could probably have them come in and talk to us, and then about what they think the different options are, and then I think we would have to decide what we would want, because you could do a survey, you could do what the deliberative forums, when you do those different things would be at different times, like we'd have to get more information from them.
Yeah, I guess if they would be happy to come and present, and if it suits the chair, I was welcome a presentation by them. I think I would rather start down that road now than wait another meeting and then be like, hey, we want to have FNM to come. So if you think if we could plan for an early opportunity for them to come, at least least get that, in the works, and at least give us something to respond to rather than an abstract conversation.
Sure. I can contact Professor Medvick and Mr. Yost and see what they would do. If I don't write this down, I will forget, so.
Does Amy, do you have contact with them?
I do, but so does Brian.
So do
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't want to put so much on your plate. I mean, we as commissioners are here.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
was to do the work, we can.
yeah, Brian, if you're busy, I certainly can do that.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I've just talked to him before, so. I've known him from my F&M days, so. And actually, that would be great if you have contact them and see what they say, and just copy me in on anything, and we can figure out what to do next. Okay, moving on to other business. Is there any other business? I want to thank you first for a very informative and successful first half of the process. Personally, I'm very glad that we have now finished just the first half of the process and not the process itself. It's what I was hoping for, and pleased with the results. I would say now the real work, it's time to, proverbially roll up the sleeves and really get to work. So we will be doing that in moving on. If there is no other business, is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, and thank you for a very short meeting. I got a lot of grading to do tonight, so. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
The motion, is there a second? Second. Any opposition, any opposed? We are adjourned.
You should do something about that.